Hi everyone, this is Kit, and I'm really excited to be able to share some information about our sub program for this year. So subs have always been in a tricky position because if they sign up and say, hey, sure, I can fill in for an absence, and an absence takes place, there's always been this strange, okay, what grade is it? What class is this? What are they teaching? Oh my goodness, do I have to prepare kind of a lesson without any notice for this class? What is the behavior like? What's normal for this class? Who are these kids? You know, the questions go on and on. And so this year, I wanted to be very structured and intentional about how we approach the substitution process. And so we're going to have sub lessons for our years who are not doing sacramental preparation lessons, for those in the Sprouts preschool program, in our kindergarten program, in our first grade program, and then in those who are past sacramental preparation but not yet in middle school that are in our confirmed fourth and fifth graders class. Those specific classes are on a schedule under the direction of their main teacher. And so they could be on any kind of a lesson schedule, and ergo, substituting in those classes has traditionally been very difficult to do. And so this year, for those subs that are going to be working with our littles grades, Sprouts, Kinder, first grade, and the subs that are going to be working with our older grades, which is, of course, those confirmed fourth and fifth graders, I have some pre-written lesson plans for subs to be able to do when the time comes for them to substitute for a teacher, either because of a personal illness or family emergency or a planned absence. I already know a few of my classrooms, teachers are going to have a few planned absences this year, and so these lesson plans are intended to make that transition really easy. So I mentioned this a little bit in my other training videos, but I want to be a little bit more detailed because this video is specifically for my subs and for my main teachers who might need a sub to fill in with their class. And this is actually specifically for the subs and the teachers in my catechetical years, so not the sacramental prep teachers. Those subs will kind of be aware of the lesson plan from week to week and will be given the same preparation resources as the teachers are given. So they should be well prepared to step into those sacramental classes. This video is for those who are stepping into a classroom that might be going out of order, that might be doing other things, deviating from the established curriculum as the Spirit has directed. So I'm going to show you guys some of the lesson plans that I have developed, and I'm going to start with our littles. So each one of these folders, I'm going to be linking to and providing access to these folders so that you can go in and find these digital plans, these digital resources, but I'm going to have prints as well. So I will print out all of the lesson plans for all of my teachers and all of my subs. And I'm also going to have a sub bin for my littles and a sub bin for my kind of confirmed classes so that they'll have all the resources that they need to step in and teach in a class. Now, the way that we're going to be starting the year is you subs are going to be shadowing in the different classrooms that you're assigned to. So for my littles substitutes, you guys will be spending a lesson in Sprouts. And then the next week will be in kindergarten. The next week you'll be in first grade until you get familiar with the teachers and with the students in those classes. And so you'll be kind of shadowing and almost acting like an assistant in the beginning of the year. That will help you to start connecting with these students, to start understanding how the cadence of each of these classrooms is. And then when you go to step in to be a substitute, you can maintain kind of a consistent order and structure. And that makes it a lot easier for the kids. That's an act of mercy for the students if things are reasonably similar to how they experience the classroom with their main teachers from week to week. Now, when the time arises for a sub, that might be planned in advance. You might know, a month ahead of time that you're going to be substituting for a specific teacher on a specific day. But there's also a possibility you might find out the day before the year substituting. And so what will happen is I'm going to leave the prerogative for choosing a lesson with the main teacher if they have a preference. So the main teacher will say, hey, I want you to teach this lesson of the three I'm going to show you guys. If the main teacher is not well or just doesn't care, then they'll kind of say, oh, sub, teach whatever you want to teach. And our subs, you guys will have 3 lesson plans that you'll be able to implement. And that should give us enough flexibility to cover. And if we use all 3 and there's a 4th absent in a class, we're gonna do a movie night. That's what we're gonna do. So I already decided. So let me go through and show you guys my little sub plans, and then I'll show you my sub plans for the confirmed class. So you can skip around depending upon whether you're a sub for the littles or the bigs. But this will help you to anticipate what you'll be receiving when we do our volunteer orientation and how things are going to work as we move into the school year. So in this littles sub lessons folder, see if I can get it sorted. Okay, I sorted it by name so that we can at least kind of see. Oh, that's interesting. Let me rename this. I must have done some changing. Oh, sorry guys, this is less than helpful to you. Okay, the reason that I wanted to rename is you can see there's the lesson. It's a little doc, and then there's some resources that go along with the lesson. So we have God and family, praying with beads, and we adore the Lord. Now, I wanted to point out God and family. This is actually a very, very basic version of our salvation history curriculum that these students will be learning when they get to sacramental preparation in a few years. So let's open that to kind of take a look at what this looks like. So let me make it fit so it's a little easier for you guys to see. So here's the lesson title. Of course, the core of this lesson is that God gave us family and we are God's family. And the objectives are God made family starting with Adam and Eve. God made his family bigger throughout the Bible. And that's specifically through covenants, but that isn't actually a word that we use expressly in the curriculum because that's a little bit of a big word for the kids. And then the biggest through Jesus, of course, that God made his family bigger through the Bible and biggest through Jesus. And God is in our family and we are in his. So this particular lesson might be better if it's learned in the springtime because the children may have been introduced by then to some of these characters, Adam and Eve, Noah, and other biblical figures as we go. Then before class tasks are going to be locate Oliver the owl. It's a little owl stuffed animal that you're going to use through these lessons with the little grades. That there's a leader size coloring sheet and then there's little children size coloring sheets. Coloring sheets are an essential part of making sure that we can stretch our time with the little grades because time, the amount of time that you're going to need is varied depending upon the grades that you're working with and the class size. So the coloring sheets are intended to give you guys some kind of squishable, expandable time. Now, making sure that you have enough copies of everything and then taking a moment to pray with your assistant is always a really important place to start. So this is a note to subs just so that there's always a consistent understanding about how to use this lesson planner. So this lesson plan, all of these are going to be laid out almost like a script. And so bold words are words that you can speak to students. They're written like in a voice. feel free to paraphrase, for what feels natural to you. You don't have to read it as a script. It's intended to be as easy as possible. And then you're going to have unbolded parenthetical statements that are more instructions to you. The lesson objectives will always be highlighted, and so lesson objectives are really important for you to cover. And then throughout all of these, let me see if I can get it to divide these pages back. Anyway, I have some approximate time points, and those are not to keep you on time. They're actually to give you a sense for whether or not you're moving more quickly through the lesson or more slowly through the lesson. So they're just about you assessing where you are in time and kind of making adjustments as needed. So as you can see, this is the start of a new piece of paper. It says, you're at 000 minutes. And we're always going to start in prayer, and we're always going to start with an introduction. So this is consistent within all of the lesson plans. So you're going to be directing the kids to say that Our Father in the glory be. You're going to be introducing yourself, the name that you want to be called, and that you're the substitute teacher for Mrs. or Mr., fill in the blank, and that you're going to be starting with a game with Oliver the Owl. So Oliver the Owl, I left it at church, so I can't show it to you in this video. It is a stuffed animal. So this is kind of an anthropomorphizing of an animal to do some interaction. So yeah, this is Oliver the Owl. What do owls say? Woo! Yes, owls say who. Owls are very curious. Oliver is curious to know your names. And so you'll kind of toss the owl lightly. And then Oliver likes to fly. He likes a gentle toss to help him fly from person to person. And he also likes to meet new friends. So I'm going to get him started by saying my name. And then I'm going to toss him to a new boy or girl, and they can share their name. And then he will want to fly to see a new friend. And so he'll fly around from person to person with a gentle toss until everyone has had a chance to share their name. And so that's going to be kind of your first interaction with the class. If you've already interacted with this class and done that Oliver bit, you'll be doing, do you guys all remember who this is? Oliver the Owl. You may remember that owls are very curious. Oliver is curious to be reminded of your names. So this is a way to, again, refresh your memory of the student names. And pray to the Holy Spirit to ask for some assistance to remember names as needed. But if you don't remember names, kids are not usually very offended. And then for this particular lesson, most of the time we will have Oliver kind of put away to a section of the class where he can observe, but Oliver's going to have a little bit of a role with this particular lesson. So you can see, I am new to class. What did you learn last lesson? Good, job remembering. You need to pay attention so you can tell Mrs. fill in the blank when he or she comes back. That's going to take you about 15 minutes. And now you see we have underlined and bolded a new section of what is family. So you can see, you're being given a script to talk about Oliver retelling or sharing, something that he saw in April. He saw a bonfire outside of the church. He saw people lighting candles, and they went into the church, and that was the Easter Vigil. That's what his mom said, and that he was only an owling. He was very little, and that it was pretty awesome, and that his mom at that point, because it was the Easter Vigil, shared something amazing that Jesus did many, many years ago. Oliver was wondering who your families are. And they can talk about their families, open for discussion. And then he turned to Oliver. Oliver said that his mom told him that God created owls and that God is a part of his family. Oliver wonders, is God a part of your family? Yes, yes, he is. All right, today we're going to talk about how God loves families and even made families, starting with a special couple named Adam and Eve. Did you guys kind of see how that works? You can get a sense for what you're talking about. You can kind of paraphrase as needed, or you can go on script or off script. But this is going to help you kind of provide the context for the lesson. And then you can see we're getting into a new section, the first couple and the first covenant. Again, that word isn't something that we're going to share with the kids, but for your knowledge, that's what we're going through, is we're going through the covenants. Right here we have, a lesson objective. So it's highlighted. So that's something to like really speak slowly and to emphasize. For the Sprouts kids, use your best discretion. They're preschoolers. You can, kind of go through this as needed. For the olders, those that are in the first grade, they're going to be going through this next year. So you're giving them a preview of content. So you'll be kind of leading up with that very first part of the lesson. And then this is consistent with all of the littles plans, is you're going to be directing the kids to do a coloring break, and you're going to use that coloring break as your first bathroom break. Your only scheduled bathroom break, but usually if you have one full bathroom break and everyone is invited who possibly could need to go to the bathroom, you can get everyone to the bathroom. Now, in our Sprouts room where we have preschoolers, they might need to take breaks and just let kids go as needed. We have several assistants in Sprouts so that they can just take a kid when they need to go to the bathroom. So just to anticipate that need with our younger kids, the kindergartners and the first graders, they should be able to make it through the lesson with a single bathroom break. And if the kids have snack break, the assistant can kind of step in to help manage any snacks. This would be a snack time as well. So you give the kids kind of some time to get through the lesson, and then let me show you what you're going to be working on with the kids. So the kids are going to be coloring in this Oliver the Owl and his mum, and this is going to get printed front to back, and so this letter is going to be going home to families. So the kids can bring home their artwork, and then on the back, the families will better understand what has been taught to their child. And then we always have an additional coloring sheet. This is part of our stretch of lessons that if you get done a little early, you can direct the kids to do some more coloring work. So after the bathroom break, give the kids enough time to color, approximately at 30 minutes, so about half the lesson, you'll be moving into this next section. So for this particular unit, or this particular lesson, it's a lot of words. And if you read through this, you're going to see there's a cadence. Because let me go back to this. So this is your leader sheet, which is going to be 11 by 17, and you're going to have these little sheets of paper to flip through as you go through this lesson. So God makes his family bigger. Adam and Eve, a couple. Noah, a family. So you can see it's literally getting bigger on the pages. So Adam and Eve were this tiny, teeny, tiny little couple. Noah's a family. They're a little bit bigger. God makes his family bigger. Abraham with a tribe. They're bigger. God makes his family bigger. With Moses, a nation. They're bigger and bigger. We can see in each one of these, there's little kind of icons that the kids may connect with those stories. The rainbow of Noah, an Israelite looking gentleman under a ray of the sun could be Moses. Could be Abraham. Moses with the parting of the sea and the 10 Commandments. God makes his family bigger with King David and a kingdom. And of course, finally, God makes his family bigger, Jesus, with the whole world. So you can see it kind of is bigger than everything. So the idea of, using these aids are you're moving from, making a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger family. So that's going to be reinforcing all of these words and kind of the cadence that will start to happen through these words. So this is the more complex of the lesson plans. If you read through this, you're going to get a sense that there is that cadence, that you're going to be moving from little to bigger. There's going to be a lot of repetition, which is something that the kids tend to like. Even our Sprouts, they will start to get into it with the repetition. They're going to be anticipating what you're going to be saying. So they might kind of even start to realize where you're going with some of this, again, with the cadence of what you're saying. By this point, you should be close to wrapping up the lesson. But again, if you need extra time, then we go back to this sheet. We have, that's the wrong one. We have another thing for the kids to color on. So between those things, you should have enough time, especially giving space to a bathroom break, snack break, whatever it would be. And then you're at the wrap up, which will be near when you hear the bell ringing. So maybe right before the bell would ring, which is 5 minutes before the end of the lesson. So bells are rung 5 minutes before the lesson, and you need to make sure that you're kind of doing a wrap up and having the kids clean up their spaces, put the crayons or whatever coloring away, tidy up their area, throw things in the garbage, grab their papers to show their parents, get in a line, slowly walk out the door all together in a line, pray before that with a glory be. So you can kind of fill up the time as needed. It shouldn't be hard to do. So when you receive the link, you're going to be able to look through each of these lessons. So this is a lesson about praying with beads, and it instructs you to actually do kind of a faux decade with the kids. Don't like hold it to 10 Hail Marys, just do however many there are. And you'll see when we go to the praying with beads, this is some of the resources that we have. So some more coloring sheets. And then finally, we adore the Lord. You are going to be able to go on a little field trip to the Adoration Chapel with this particular lesson. So that's going to use up quite a lot of time as well. So that's what we have in our littles lessons. So there's 3 lessons. The main teacher will be able to identify which lesson they want taught. Hopefully the main teacher and all of you subs will have enough time to kind of look through these lesson plans and get a sense for what they cover. The one caveat is I think the God and family lesson, that might be better in the spring, but depending upon what the teacher's been teaching, they might want that right away. Now, for our sub-lessons for the confirmed kids, they are fairly similar structurally, except that they're intended for students that have a greater capacity in their minds and are more ready for discussion. So a lot of our lesson plans are going to have prompts for classroom discussion. Let's take a look at, we have a version of the praying with beads with our older kids too. So it's going to be a more complex lesson plan, but you can see just the same as we had with that with the other lesson. We have a title, we have what the core is, and we have lesson objectives. We have a list that you can go through as a sub to make sure that you have everything that you need. There's a prayer for you to pray with your classroom assistant or assistants. And then there's some additional kind of information. Again, this class consists of 4th and 5th grade students, and all of the students in our older grades going through that confirmed 4th and 5th grades class, they've all been fully initiated. So they've been baptized, received confirmation, and had their first communion. They've done a lot of work in the program. They've learned a lot. And so guided discussion is really encouraged with these kids. They tend to respond really well to discussion. So when you go through, you're going to see there's these little asterisks that identify like this is a time for classroom discussion. So you're actually going to be starting with icebreakers that are all discussion based. And you can choose, depending upon which of these you've used with a particular class in the past. There's some nice little kind of if questions for you to get to know the class. So have the students share their names and then respond. Like, if you could pick a second saint name for your confirmation name, what saint name would you pick, etc. So again, similarly to our littles plan, the bold is kind of, it's not specifically what you say, but it's the intent. This is going to be a little bit more brief because of the age group that you're dealing with. So you're going to be showing a rosary. Who knows what this is? People probably know what a rosary is by now. You can, express a couple of factoids, everything tends to be like on a single line with this particular lesson plan because you, as a teacher and as a sub for those older grades, some of your job is to respond to kind of what the kids are offering you. So it's a little harder to anticipate that. So this is to help you continue to drive the lesson forward, but if the students kind of expand into a discussion area that maybe was unexpected, make sure that it's guided, you're not off the rails, but you can give those kids time to chew on topics and to verbalize. Make sure that children are kind to each other. They do not put each other down, and make sure to reprimand if you see anything like that. Make sure that no one's talking over each other. And then sometimes there's a kid that's kind of an overshare and over monopolizing on time. Just try to, direct to shy or quieter state students and tell, those overly eager students like, okay, you're gonna get a chance, you've done so well, let's give others a chance, or, oh, we need to keep going forward or we're not gonna get through the lesson. So that's something to anticipate. You can see here is kind of some of what you'll be covering. So there's a little bit about the rosary. These kids will be familiar with the rosary, so there isn't a whole lot for you to teach with a rosary. There's a discussion about, when they hear or think about a rosary, does it remind you of a family member? Why does it remind you of a family member? To have a little bit of a discussion about that. And then some of the other things you'll be covering are, what the Divine Mercy Chaplet is. So there's some nice little factoids in here about, the establishment of the Divine Mercy Chaplet, in the early 1900s, early 20th century through Saint Faustina, who received visions from Jesus. It talks about, the main prayers of the Divine Mercy Chaplet and kind of the specific, the 8 days around Easter and 3 o'clock being specifically important times for the Divine Mercy Chaplet. And then you'll be talking about something called a chotki, which is an Eastern kind of string of beads, which is actually a knotted rope. You will have a chotki in your sub kit, so you can actually show the kids what it looks like. And it is prayed with something called the Jesus Prayer. And the Jesus Prayer is a very meditative prayer and actually is intended to be a nonverbal prayer where it's about breathing. So, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, the sinner. So instead of verbalizing that, you'd be in your mind. And I mean, that's very deliberate, overly exaggerated breathing that would hyperventilate someone if they were to breathe that way, but that gives you an idea of kind of the pattern of breathing. And then you're going to work with the kids to actually build their own prayer bead or loop, depending upon if they want to make a little chotki with 33 beads or if they want to make a short decade rosary, like keychain. You'll have the tools that you need to like make this, and that'll be the rest of your lesson. So that'll be in your kit. You'll be making beads up. You're going to have some questions to ask the kids what they thought about the lesson, remind them, that they've made these beads to pray. This isn't in here, but maybe I encourage the kids to go and get them blessed. So the one thing that's a little different between our littles lessons and our olders is you have a parent letter, and it's actually tacked into the bottom of this lesson plan digitally. And it explains, this particular one, shows kind of the 3 prayers that we would have talked about in class, and it gives the parents resources to learn more. So that isn't going to be the same in every single one of these lesson plans, but you'll see kind of that structure will be the same. So for our confirmed kids, that's our beads and prayer. We actually have a lesson on, how to pray, how to have like a personal prayer time. For that lesson, we have this resource, which is my personal prayer time, and it's structured, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you were to print this out, it's kind of like a mocked up little journal page. And so this sheet helps to step you through what you will be doing in this personal prayer lesson. So you'll see, what is a conversation? What is prayer? And then the steps. Step one, greet God. Step two, honesty. Step three, worship. Now, if you go back, you're going to see that mirrors these steps right here. So you'll be moving between, saying kind of the prompts from the lesson plan and then directing the kids into this tool. And they can take this home, and maybe it'd be nice to have an extra sheet that they can take home. And when we go down to the prayer letter, it's pretty short. It's talking about, we focus on a 5-step model for prayer. And of course, they'll have a blank template coming home. Maybe the parents will be curious and they'll want an extra sheet for them. For anyone that attended our kind of prayer mission at the beginning of the summer in 2024, they'll be familiar with some of this process because Andre Renier from Catholic Christian Outreach came into town and he actually helped bring parishioners through this model when he came to visit us at the beginning of the summer. The last lesson is a trivia night, which should be pretty fun. So aside from the direction to get things going, the rest of this particular document, it just gives you the questions and then the correct answers bolded. So you'll have always know what the right response is. For this, you'll need to get dry erase paper and dry erase markers, which are located in the faith formation closet. And you'll want to think about prizes. We have a prize bin, and you might be able to find some cool prizes there, but even just coming with a chocolate bar or whatever you given any allergies in the class, that might be a great way to encourage participation. So that gives you guys some idea of what we have as a resource this year for our substitutes and for our main teachers. So once again, when you receive the link, depending upon whether you're subbing in our kind of younger grades for Sprouts, kindergarten first, if you're in the littles grades, you're going to want to look in this littles sub-lessons and materials. Or if you are a substitute for our confirmed 4th and 5th graders, you're going to want to look in this particular folder. And then again, for my main teachers, please take a look at these lesson plans so you also understand what will be taught to your students in the event of an absence by you. So I'm excited to have this resource this year, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. And I hope that this helps provide a lot of fabulous context for you to feel confident as we get going. So thank you guys very much, and enjoy the rest of your summer.